Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fittest. I'm super excited to have third in the world IFBB Pro Brooke Walker with me today. And also, oh my gosh, I want to say the GOAT, right? Juliana Malacarne is here, and we're going to be talking about all of our female Olympia top 5-ish winners from all the categories tonight. So first of all, well, I'm going to start. Juliana, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy mom, and how are you doing, first of all?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to do this recap. I think it's pretty cool. Thank you. I'm doing very good in my baby's bedroom because it's quiet in here and she's downstairs. So everything good. I'm super busy. I don't sleep well. I'm, the whole mom life. But it's amazing. I love every second of it. The hard times, the good times. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone wants to hear a little bit more about this, Juliana and I did do an interview way back at the beginning of the year, I believe it was, and we had talked about having you back to do this recap. So I'm so glad that it worked out. But if you want to hear a little bit more about mom life and life after competing, please listen to that episode. It was just near and dear to my heart. So I'm just so happy that you're here. And now Brooke makes me, I just get so emotional every time I think about this, because I just feel like I've walked side by side with you a lot through this journey. We've become very good friends, and I'm just always pushing for you because I just think you really epitomize what I personally love women's physique to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you doing coming down from this weekend, and how are you feeling?
I feel awesome. I feel so happy. And like I was saying, going into the Olympia, I wanted to stay in that top three. So to have been able to do that, that was just huge. And the Olympias, it's a big deal. And it was the biggest Olympia in history. I mean, the numbers in each class were just crazy. So I knew going into that show that it was going to be tough, but I'm just so pleased. I'm so happy. And I'm still just going to be like on this cloud nine basically until the Olympia again next year. But it's such an incredible, amazing feeling. And I'm just grateful, but I'm glad it's over too.
I love too that I was going to say that you, so you're qualified and now you get another year to be able to just work on building and making the improvements that they have given you feedback about and what you thought you need to improve on for next year. So you don't have to worry about qualifying and taking up that time with another prep. You just get to take that time and focus on the Olympia again next year, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming, knowing my luck, they're probably going to change the qualification. I won't be qualified. That would happen to me, but hopefully that does not happen. But yeah, I truthfully just want to focus on Olympia next year. I can make some improvements, so that's what I want to do. I just want to completely focus on my backside again. I was at my absolute best for sure, but I feel like I could come in a little bit better from behind. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And it's funny, you're so dieted down during contest prep and you're getting to points where you're like, I just want to get through this. I just want it to be over with. And now it's like, I'm remotivated. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to work out. That's all I want to do, So I'm really looking forward to a great improvement season and being at my all-time best next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get started with looking at let's go to our women's, let me see here, our women's physique. I kind of set this up on my other page, so we should be able to kind of look at all of our qualifiers. So if we go to this post right here, we can see, oh, look at that.
Who's that?
Who's that? Definitely was your best showing to date. Absolutely phenomenal. So let's go here. First of all, I wanted to make this bigger. That didn't do that. Sorry about that. Okay. Well, let's go to our top 5 here. So obviously, Sarah got defeated this year, and we've got Natalia in. So I'm going to, let's go to her. Normally I'm so fluid with this, and it's not, it's not working for me here. So let's see. All right, so let's go to Natalia, because she is our new winner.
Yes.
So
The new champ.
the new champ. So what I want to say about Natalia, what I love is that she is absolutely a great representative of the sport, and you don't always get that with the winner, right? But we're very pleased with her. She is very feminine, her posing. I love every time she comes out, the first thing she does is the little heart before she goes into her posing routine. But I mean, you know, so we talked a little bit about this. Obviously, women's physique is getting a little bit harder every year. And Brooke, I know that you said even going through that, obviously the conditioning is it gets more and more difficult every year to nail that conditioning. But you know, this is what we got, right?
Mm-hmm. You know, I do believe that Natalia is such a great representative for the sport. And she's so nice, and I'm so genuinely happy for her, because she has been like, they are nipping at Sarah's heels for years. And even when Shanique was there, she was always right in the mix. So she just keeps coming back and coming back. And, you know, I have to give it to her, because a lot of people wouldn't, you know, at some point, when are you like, you know what? I'm frustrated. Am I ever going to be able to get this title? And, you know, the list kind of goes on. Well, Natalia has continued to be right in the mix, and she hasn't stopped, you know. And I'll actually give her this going into the Olympia as well. You know, Natalia was competing pretty nonstop this year. I mean, she competed in several shows, and she made improvements going into the Olympia, which is very, very impressive. So I'm proud of her, and I'm happy for her, and I think she will just be a great role model and representative for the division too.
Absolutely. But you're still gunning for her.
Yes, I am. I love her, but I would love to beat her as well.
That's normal. That's normal.
Yes, exactly.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right,
Natalia is very resilient. You know, she's been competing for a long time, and I think she brought something different this year, and they reward her for the improvements. However,
Sure.
the class has evolved to a point that they are really big and hard, and it's very different than when I was competing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
what was your stage weight this year? And you're 5'2", right?
Yeah. So I'm 5'2", and I'm like the smallest one on the stage. You know, I dropped down to 131. So I walked on stage probably at 133, but I dropped to 131. And this was the tightest, hardest that I had ever been on stage. And it was a hard prep for me. It was a great prep, but I had to push the limits and really like push, like amplify on conditioning, really focus on my conditioning. And Sarah and Natalia, and even other girls that are maybe didn't make the top 5, their conditioning is on a whole nother level. And you could argue that they're more conditioned than some of your women's bodybuilders. You know, it's on a whole nother level. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I would agree that the women's physique category is the most conditioned, because once you start getting into these greater muscle masses, you lose a little bit of that conditioning. And yeah, the women's physique category is definitely the most shredded. I think too, though, Juliana, I feel like you were like, right, you would have fit right in with being as conditioned, but it just looks different on you because of your muscle bellies. You look very, like, it just looked very bubbly and very feminine, and it looks like curves and all the right places, which is why I think your physique is so idolized by everyone since then, because it just looked so feminine, even though you had all that conditioning. Do you feel like you are as conditioned as some of these girls that are up here?
I do not.
Okay. No, it's
I
fair.
do not. I think maybe my last year was the year that I was most conditioner for me. And I don't think I was as conditioned as now, the girls now. I don't think so. I think I was hard and pretty conditioned, but not that. I could never have, they used to tell me when they used to look at me before the shows, the whole thing, they used to tell me, you only gonna lose Olympia if you show with stride glutes.
Yeah.
So I could never have that. I have to, it was so hard for me because I had to pose, and I had a little, like, slightly, depends when you walk or something, but nothing crazy. And I had to pose and hide. I had to make my butt try to, like, soft. I couldn't squeeze the glutes, and I have to squeeze everything else. So it was really hard. But I don't think I was conditioned as the girls nowadays. I think they are bigger and they are more conditioned.
Yeah, because you were on, like, what did you weigh on stage?
I was 119 and I'm 5'2".
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember a couple of these preps where the back shots were, you could just barely see your glutes having those striations, and you said that was what they said they didn't want to see.
They
And
didn't want to see at all. And, you know, and I was really hard. But now I feel like they want to see, or they want that, and the girls really have to show that, have to bring that to be competitive. So I think this has changed.
yeah, and several of, I don't want to say several. Well, I know like Melissa Tyke is now moving up to women's bodybuilding, which, I mean, she was towing the line, and they were pulling her down placings, probably just to try to tell her. But I'm just sitting here fangirling. We just need to admire Juliana for a minute.
It's easy to do. Like I was saying, I still will always model the division based off of Juliana, because I think it was a good balance of everything. She had muscle, just enough muscle in all the right areas, curves in the right areas. She was conditioned, but it wasn't over the top. It was just, and it's pleasing to look at. Whenever Juliana would cross the stage, you couldn't take your eyes off of her. So, and I always kind of like think about the people that are not necessarily familiar with bodybuilding, so they might not necessarily know that how it's judged or what the judges are looking for or whatever, but you always know it's pleasing to the eye. So when someone walks across that stage, I might not have any idea what that division is supposed to be, but I know who I can't take my eyes off of. It's Juliana. She was just so pleasing on stage. So I'll forever like model the division off after her. I think she was just a great physique Olympia champion. And I mean, she would have still, in my opinion, I think she still would have been winning,
Very nice of you. Thank you very much. But talking about you were amazing this year. You have improved so much. You were so on point that leads you to the 3rd place. Congratulations. Was incredible. Incredible. Your presentation, everything was so on point.
Thank you.
Really, really incredible. Yeah.
It was my best yet.
Your poses are like, has improved everything.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at this pose, this chest, beautiful, everything beautiful.
Yeah.
You could have won, you know that, right?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Not blowing smoke, but I'm being honest.
Yeah, thank you. I hope to win it at some point.
Keep showing up just like that, you will.
Yes, thank you.
It's so funny because I mean the name of the game is how you are comparing to the other girls, and Brooke on her own looks flawless.
Yeah,
flawless. It's the flaws only come out when you're standing next to somebody else and you see it's not a flaw, but if somebody has something better, you have to
Yes.
try to, you know, this is what you're trying to match. So,
Mhm.
you know, and it is tough, Brooke, because I know it is always your goal to maintain this level of femininity, and it's tough to add on. You can't just add on slabs of muscle tissue. Like, you just can't do that, you know?
It's easier said than done.
But this is a woman's physique package. This is pretty. This is feminine. This is condition. This is proportion. This is,
Yes.
this is the package for me. But yeah, keep showing up just like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was your last year, was it not?
Yeah, that was last year.
You
Mhm.
are, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know what.
night and day.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
It's night and day. It is a night and day difference. Who was okay, so we have, who was fifth? So Barbara was fourth.
Ivy. Yeah.
Oh,
And-
oh yes, Evie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I laugh because her name is pronounced Evie Hein.
I know.
And
I always call her Ivy.
yeah, and like when I had her on the podcast too, I said, "Oh, is it Ivy Rain?" And I just knew because of Bob Ciccarello pronouncing her name, and I thought, I wonder if he knows, like, if he would change it if he knew he's been saying it wrong like all these years. It's fine. Another beautiful, I think she's beautiful as well. I definitely deserved. I think that she could have been, you know, even up a spot if I were to be honest. But I love her look. I think she's beautiful, and her back is phenomenal. Again, you know, a little bit on the bigger side, but she still maintains that femininity, and, you know, and we just love her. And another great representative of the sport, mom of two.
Correct.
I think her husband coaches her, and so they
Mhm.
do it all together, and I love her absolutely.
Yeah, I love her look, and I was so happy for her. And I loved her finals routine. Oh, it was just beautiful. She did such a great job. So I'm pumped for her. And I know she was very, very pleased to be in the mix again in that top 5. That was big for her.
Yeah, last year she was like much closer to like 9th, maybe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Last year she placed much better. This year she did well. She did much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, I love it. And then Barbara placed 4th, obviously. You know, an amazing physique as well, nailing the conditioning.
Super
Yeah,
condition.
and Barbara has placed 4th, I believe, like the past 3 years. So
Yeah.
she's right there in the mix each and every year.
She's being consistent with her placings. I didn't
Mhm.
like her bikini this year. I thought it was a little wasn't my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, the yellow plaid was a little bit
I
different.
don't know. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm with you. I agree. I definitely agree.
Let's go to figure, and I'm just gonna start with, you know, Sydney is the absolute goat. I compare her to, like, she is the Phil Heath when Phil Heath was at his best of women's figure. It's like you can see all the other girls and people look amazing, and then Sydney walks out and it's just like you just can't take your eyes off her. She just is so stunning. She's perfection. And even like, you know, she has scoliosis. She has like this little bit in her back, and even with this, you know, I think handicap is the wrong word, but I'm not thinking of the politically correct word. But I mean, even with this, it just goes to show you, like, she's, I mean, 6 times now. It's absolutely incredible.
but even that has improved. When she
Yes.
pulls
Yeah.
back, it's looking much better. This year was a lot better. Yeah,
Yeah.
she is just a goal. Yeah, she's really incredible. So elegant too. She poses like nobody else.
Yes. And
Go ahead.
oh, I just gorgeous. Like, she's just absolutely gorgeous.
It is, you know, and the minute she walks on stage, you just can see it, the confidence she has. She knows she looks good. And it just like it brings a smile on my face watching her pose, because I'm like, yeah, you do look good. You look incredible. And she's just a nice human too. So whenever you see people that do well and they're genuinely nice, it like, I don't know, it puts a smile on your face. You're happy for them, you know. So great ambassador for the sport as well. So I think she'll continue to win until she decides she doesn't want to compete anymore.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the case. Like I said, you'll see like different competitors walk out and you're like, oh, this person's really good. Like that's going to be close. Like I think of like Lola. Lola is one of my favorites as well. Lola Montez. And I can never, I'm going to just go here because then it'll take me to her other page. But
I'd like Lola for the second place.
I would agree with that. Who plays second? I can't.
Jessica?
Jessica. Yeah, Jessica did.
Yes. I agree. I totally wanted Lola to play second place. I don't know. I feel like I think she's had, if I were to say like this was different, I think she's had better makeup done before than she did at this Olympia. So like maybe it was a little bit of a softer look that she's had you know, on her stage looks before. But I mean, I think she's perfect and she's got the calves. I can't get over
I agree.
Yeah.
how complete her whole physique. I can't believe how much calves complete the leg. Like you can see her calves from the front and it's absolutely like she just looks incredible. I love her.
She does. Some of these figure competitors, oh my gosh, that entire lineup of girls were just phenomenal. You're absolutely right when you say one walks out on stage, you're like, oh my gosh, she looks really good. The next one walks out, I'm like, oh man, she looks good too. I mean, just they kept getting better and better. But I was pumped for Lola. I do agree. I actually kind of like her in that second place spot. But she's climbing the ranks, so it wouldn't surprise me for her to be right there in the mix next year as well.
Yeah. I was going to say this interesting fact about Sydney. So I was working for RX Muscle when I believe when she got her pro card in 2014 or 15, I was like holding the camera for the interview. And that's when I first, like, she was already this cutest little thing, like just getting started. And like, I've seen her journey from the very beginning and she's just been a stunner and a sweetheart. And just a great representative of the sport from the very beginning. And I just love her. I just love her. So Jessica was second. And
Jessica was second. Jessica is pretty consistent. She keeps showing up always in great condition. She has an amazing muscularity. It's a really great athlete. But I do like I think Lola, in my opinion, has better proportions. So I think that's more a complete physique than Jessica. However, Jessica is an amazing athlete. She's always in the top three, and every time she competes, she won a lot of shows. So I think it was amazing. This lineup was incredible.
Yeah, and any day, like you could, especially after first place, like it could have gone either way.
Either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Fourth, who remembers? Let me go back to here. The girl who got fifth, was it somebody that I was familiar with?
Was it Zenobia?
Let's see. Can we go to
It's Natalia who took fifth. She's a Mexican girl. She's from Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay,
she was second last year.
And this girl, I couldn't find her Instagram. Her name is Jossie Nathali Alarcon Barciera. I don't even know who that is. Do you guys know?
I think she's another Mexican too. I think they're both from Mexico. I don't know much about this one.
I don't either.
But she is from Mexico.
Okay. But Natalia has been in this for a while, and I always love her physique.
And she got second last year, correct, at Olympia?
I
I
believe.
believe.
Yes, she did. But this year, I think she was a little smoother.
Mhm.
She was a lot more conditioned last year. In this class, really requires condition, like every class.
I know it was unreal. That figure lineup was just insane, and I believe there was like 40 figure girls that qualified for the Olympia. So it was a stacked class, and they all looked phenomenal.
Yeah. And I think what some people don't know is that it's not just about being the biggest, but if you don't nail that conditioning, you don't look big on stage. So, like Juliana, like you said, she's a little bit smooth, and that's going to make her look smaller and softer, even if size wise she is about the same. So it is really about nailing all these things that create this illusion of being so big and hard on stage. But yes, and she's beautiful. Really like somebody that caught my eye personally just in the last couple of years as she's been moving up, and she's stunning, and she has I think she does have a little bit of a smaller physique than the rest. She's the Brooke of
Yes. But it works for her, and she can, it looks great on her physique, and she can kind of get away with it. But, especially at that level, talking about the conditioning, if you're off at any given moment, it shows at that level, because everybody is hands down going to be at their best. And it's tough. So if you're off, it could cost you that top 5, or it can cost you multiple placements, so. But I actually probably assume, I can't remember her placement at the Arnold earlier in the year. I don't think it was her best placement, but I assume that she's probably pretty happy to be kind of like in that top 5 at the Olympia.
Yeah, I believe her placement in the Arnold, because last podcast we were talking about this, Brooke, and I had confused the Arnold with the Olympia because she had gotten like 5th or 6th or something at the last Arnold. So
Yes.
she kind of was up and then down, and then now she's back up again. So I mean that's good. That's good. Well, let's talk about the women's bodybuilding. So I think Drea, like, who is going to beat her? I don't know. Like,
I love Drea, because I, kind of going back, I know that bodybuilding is not necessarily judged based off of how feminine you are, but Drea is. She's feminine. It's the same concept she walks out on stage, and I'm like, I can't take my eyes off of her. She poses beautiful. She's just flawless. Her hair, her makeup, her suit, everything just looks good. And you can tell that she kind of goes that extra mile. She wants to look good. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to beat her. It's crazy.
yeah, I don't now. I was thinking because Melissa Tyke is moving up, I would be curious what she looks like next to her. I think Melissa is very feminine the way that she moves. I'm not just talking about, people throw the word feminine around, but there's a very much of a girly way that that Drea moves. You can see like the little bit of the wiggle and the way that she poses. It's very almost like dainty for all this mass that she's holding, and that's what makes it gorgeous. So like I think that I'd be really curious to see like what the two of them look like next to each other. Obviously Melissa is probably going to be smaller. She's going to be on the smaller end coming into bodybuilding from women's physique, but so as these women's physique girls outgrow this category and come into the bodybuilding, we'll just see what they look like next to some of the other women's bodybuilders. But I love Drea. I think she breathed life back into women's bodybuilding. She's just gorgeous.
I agree. Well deserved first place in that class. I thought she was like, I was like, wow, when she walked in. She's so everything you said. So feminine. So like she has a nice roundness. Looks beautiful, poses like very elegant, very feminine. Amazing, well deserved first place.
Yeah,
no one can beat her at the moment, in my opinion.
I agree. I'm wondering if she teaches like posing. I wonder if she does, like, I know there's been clinics because she's here in Michigan. So I'm wondering if she does more of this like one-on-one posing, because I would be like, hit her up, because I'm sure she's able to translate that into like women's physique or figure, or I bet you that she's versed in all the categories. I'm sure of it.
I'm pretty sure Drea turned pro in women's physique. I'm almost certain she did.
Okay. I don't you know.
I'm pretty positive I have that correct. But you know, a lot of these women's physique girls, they're moving up. They'll turn pro women's physique and they do a few pro shows, and then they just move up to women's bodybuilding. So I'm pretty certain she began in women's physique.
Yeah. Margie is another one who I do really love her look. She, again, with the tiny waist, she carries all this mass very, very well. Like I said, Drea set the standard for women's bodybuilding, and they're really keeping true to that with their, you know, their top winners.
I'm all about the sass, and I think Margie, she's got that kind of sass to her, and so which I love. But Margie did announce that she's going to retire, so that was it for her. But I'm so happy with her placement. I'm glad that she was right there in the mix, which she always is. She's always going to be a contender, but it is a bit sad to know that not coming back, you know.
Yeah, everybody's career comes to an end at some point, and she's I think Margie is in her late 40s.
Mm-hmm. I believe you're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's time. She's been doing this for a long time. So, well, actually, I think she got kind of a late start, but yeah. Michaela, I love Michaela. Obviously a different type of physique, and she came up from women's physique, but a beautiful person and a great representative of the sport. And where did she place now?
She didn't place in the top 5, but I think she was right outside of the top 5.
Well, I'm just shouting her out for no reason then.
Well, let me tell you though, Michaela's a workhorse and she's so determined. I truthfully believe she's one of the most determined individuals I've ever met. So she will be in the top 5. There's zero doubt in my mind that she's always right in the mix, and she has undeniable condition. I mean, I don't even know how she gets that condition. It's the craziest thing I've literally ever seen on a human being, like male or female. So I commend her. I mean, she works so hard. She busts her butt, you know, and she's got such a small frame, and to put all of that muscle on that frame is just touche. Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah. Well, and especially for somebody who's so young, like she's still in her, I want to say early 20s. So I mean, for somebody it's really a testament to her training style. Like she learned how to train correctly from the very beginning. And so all of her efforts have been stacked on top of each other as far as adding layers and layers of tissue consistently every year. I mean, she really is the epitome of what bodybuilding is, because I mean, even like, you know, they told her upper body was too big, so she stopped kind of training upper body and was just focused on legs so she could try to do that match. And you know, once you get onto the pro level, this is what it's about. It's about making those improvements according to you know, what the judges want and what the criteria are. So I mean, she's just following the rules, doing things exactly as she should. So Hallie was third. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of mass on her, obviously, but she carries it very, very well.
I think she looked great, and I do think that to me was one of her best overall looks. I think she's always going to be in the mix as well. She looks phenomenal. She's got muscle in all the right areas. Gosh, to be honest, I will tell you, I feel like, and you could say this in just about every class, because it was just such a stacked lineup throughout the entire Olympia. But for women's bodybuilding, it's nice to see the numbers continue to increase, because that division in particular was kind of on a decline for years. And to now see some really great competitors in that division, it's refreshing. You know, as a bodybuilder, regardless of the division that you're in, I want to see success along every division, you know? So whether I compete in that division or not, I want it to be successful, because the better we are as a whole, the better each division is going to be, right? So it's nice to see that women's bodybuilding is making a comeback, and they're making a statement for sure.
Yeah.
Well said, Brooke. Well said. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, we want every category to be strong. We don't just want, you know, one to be overloaded and the other ones to be overlooked, right?
Absolutely.
The level of conditioning on Angela here is just unbelievable. She has a very nice shape to her.
She made a statement, and I believe she won Chicago Pro. Did she win Chicago or Tampa? I'm confusing myself.
I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure.
I think maybe Chicago. One of the two, I believe. Anyways, but for her to come in here, and I think people were talking about her kind of being in the mix, but to come in there and push out some top level girls and like get that second place finish was huge for her. Yeah, I think Chicago. I bet she is like on cloud nine, living her best life right now.
Absolutely. Look at yeah. So, and this is the type of, like I said, I don't want to knock any particular category, but this is the type of conditioning that you don't normally see in women's bodybuilding. You would see this probably more in some of these, the women's physique competitors. So, I mean, it's really impressive to be carrying this amount of muscle and to be able to achieve that level of conditioning, because it really is more difficult when you have more mass. But she looks phenomenal. Looks phenomenal. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna follow her. All right. Okay, so let's talk about let's go to our bikini competitors. This was crazy. This was craziness. over 50 bikini competitors this year, and they looked really good. They looked really, really good. Let me see where we can find our. Oh, that's right. Oh no, wait, that was fitness. Sorry. Where are the
wellness? No,
we could do the wellness. Did I not post the bikini winners? I wonder if I didn't get a well, I can go here and go.
Is that bikini? I think you did.
Is it here?
Yeah, I think that's bikini.
Yeah. It was a little bit dark. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jen Dory, normally or last year was first, and now we have Maureen Blancrisco, who is beautiful. And
yeah, I loved her look.
yes, and so I read, like, Fit Pro Becky often does posts about kind of what the judges are looking for, especially if, you know, somebody gets knocked down. Jen was obviously a favorite, and people are like, why, what happened, or whatever. And, you know, she just said, this is the look they were going for. A lot of the other girls came in quite hard, and that's really tough because they really are pushing this conditioning, you know. And I mean, she looked absolutely phenomenal. She's a little bit shorter. She has a little bit more of an hourglass shape to her and a softer look. And they didn't want quite such etched in abs and capped shoulders. And so, you know, there you go. But
yeah, and this girl, I think she has won almost every show that she has entered in her career. I don't think she have lost. I think one maybe I heard her coach say, because her coach is Brazilian. So she's pretty successful in her career, and I was surprised that she turned out to be Miss Bikini Olympia. Not that I think she deserves. She looks amazing, but I think it was a surprise for me. I thought they were gonna go for the same ones they always do.
Yeah.
I think it was a shock for everybody, you know, because she looks incredible. I love her look and her physique. But going into the Bikini Olympia, I don't think anybody was talking about her to win the whole thing, you know. So she came out of nowhere and she knocked off some phenomenal girls.
Oh yeah. I mean, the top 5, the top 10 from Bikini could have shook him up in a bottle and spread him out, and like it would have been fine. However, it turned out every single time. I think they're just phenomenal. I mean, you know who the top 5, 6, 7 bikini girls are, and they all have a beautiful, unique look to them. You know, I love Jen though. I love her look. I love everything about her.
Very sexy.
Yes.
Yes.
She's beautiful. And Juliana, you were saying that I truly, I was shocked as well. I didn't think that she was going to be, you know, dethroned here.
Exactly. But however, I understand that she was second and Marine was first, but then Ashley third is a completely different body to my eyes. So that makes me so confused.
You know, go ahead, Brooke.
Yeah. I agree with that, you know, because I think this was the best look that Jen had ever brought. And I think she was maybe a little bit harder, but I completely agree with Juliana. You have her in that second place spot, and then Ashley comes in third, and it's a totally different look. Completely agree with that.
I'm not saying she's bad or anything. I'm just saying it's different, you know, so that's all.
It was very inconsistent is what you're saying, because you have these other, you know, like you'd think then they would have had somebody who is a little bit softer in second place, but they had somebody who, like it is a little bit, it was a little bit confusing. And I think that what's funny is that each of these bikini competitors really does have like a very different look to them. You know, they just do. Like it's kind of the same, but when you look at each person, you're like, oh, well, this like I think of she wasn't in the top 5, but one of my favorites is Laura Lee Chapados. And I think now they're saying she has a little bit too much glutes, a little bit too muscular at this point. So you know, it's tough too if you have to come down. Like nobody wants to lose muscle when you're into this sport. Like you don't want to have to do that. So yeah, but beautiful. And she's been doing this a long time, and we'll see if she softens up her look and comes back, you know, trying to go for first, and she gets crowned again. I mean, I think it was 2017 that she won the last Olympia. That was the last one that she won, right? That Ashley won?
I don't think 17.
15. Okay.
Something like that.
Been quite some time. Okay, who was I'm gonna have to go back.
Was Laura Lee fourth?
No, I think she was like 7th or 9th. Yeah, it was a little bit crazy. Daraja. Oh yes, I love her look. Oh yeah, you're right. Laura Lee was 4th. You're right. Daraja is another one. When she walks out, she's very captivating. She's beautiful. I love the hair. She's gorgeous. And obviously her physique is just absolutely stunning, but just noticeable. Your eye is definitely drawn to her.
Beautiful. I thought she deserved even like a better place.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about my opinion.
Yeah,
I agree. I like her look a lot.
Yeah, I could have seen, honestly, I think I could have seen her and Jen fighting it out for first place if I were to, you know, if I were to hit you with my opinion. Juliana's like,
I'm very opinionated.
but yes, I love her look. It's just stunning. Just stunning.
Is.
So it'll be curious to see, Brooke, do you know when is the first show of the spring? One of the first pro shows?
I don't know. I'm sure there's actually several bikini shows specifically that will actually start a little bit earlier in the year, because there always is. But, the Arnold obviously kind of kicks off everything that first weekend in March. And then after that, it's kind of like you'll be able to find a show kind of going on every weekend. But that's, like I said, that kind of kicks off the season. But I'm going to assume that some of these people are going to obviously roll right into them, especially these bikini girls. They compete in so many different shows, and they have that option. There's so many more bikini pro shows for them to choose to go compete in. But it's nuts to see, because there was several girls like Janet, who was a former bikini Olympia champion. She even make the top 5. So that goes to show that lineup was just unreal. I mean, there was great girls in there. People that didn't make the top 5, it doesn't mean that they didn't look good. They all looked incredible. And just like you said, you could kind of interchange some of those girls, and just, it probably would have just been just fine.
Yeah. I wonder too with Janet now it's kind of like the 5 through 10 spots. I'm wondering what they were. I just was going to check my time because I wanted to make sure. I was wondering what they would have said, like, you need to come in softer. Were those girls actually harder? Janet's not quite as muscular as some of the other girls, but she was very conditioned. I think I have a shot here of, these are some of the bikini top 5. All right, well, let's move on to, let's talk about the wellness girls. This was so fun. It was so fun to watch. I had to laugh.
I love this class. I think they're so hot and beautiful.
Yes.
Right?
I have to agree. I think wellness has become one of my favorite divisions. They're just fun to watch, and they have that good balance. They have muscle, but it's sexy. It's still so beautiful. And all of those girls just strut on stage. It's hard to take your eyes off of any of them. They look incredible. It's going to be a very favored division, I believe, in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. My daughter, even, she doesn't really follow bodybuilding a lot, but she follows Francielle and she follows Sydney, which I think is really funny. She just has like a couple of favorites. She said that she's like, she just is so, she goes, Mom, she's so naturally just beautiful, and she is, she just looks exactly like there's nothing wrong. Like there's nothing wrong here with the package.
Yeah, and she's such a nice person too, like such a nice human being, that she has the whole package, even come from inside and out, I feel like.
Yeah. Which is, again, what we always, like I said, it's just a bonus when you get somebody who's a good representative of the sport. So you gotta love it.
Yeah.
She's just beautiful. She's going to be tough to beat. I don't know if anybody's going to be capable of beating her anytime soon.
I heard she's not planning to compete for too long.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do you know Juliana, do you know how old she is?
Yes, she's 36.
Okay.
She's 36.
And she has 2 children, is that correct?
Yes, 2. I think 14 and 11.
Okay. Yeah, just amazing.
And that's so inspiring, because how often do you hear women talk about once they have children, it's game over, and you see her, she is the best in the world. I mean, best in the world. She just looks incredible. So incredible.
Yeah.
It is really nice to see that. Sarah Bishop and I were talking after the Olympia too, and she was saying how she said, I love it when girls compete and then they have children and then they come back. We've seen this time and time again. Life isn't over once you have children. The stage is always there if you want to come back to it, sometimes better than ever. Sometimes that break is what's needed, and you can have your life and your hobby, you know,
Yeah, like Franciele started to compete 5 years ago. She told me she started competing in her early 30s. You know, she was training before. She started going to the gym after the second child, and then from there she liked it. Her body improved, and wellness came along. Actually, wellness is it's going on in Brazil since 2005. So, when it came to the IFBB Pro League, so she started to compete in the Pro League.
You know what I love too, and this is just a sidebar, but every year they come back and they're like, their English is a little, it's like, oh, you're learning English as well. Like the language comes to them.
Oh, it's such a struggle.
Yeah.
I bet.
That's why it's so impressive. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're actually like able to come up here. And I mean, I've even seen this, you know, we saw it with like even Big Ramy, you know what I mean? Like these guys don't know a lick of English. I met him at the Arnold in like at one of the, I can't remember, one of the booths. And I took a picture with him. No English. He knew no English at all. You know what I mean? And then they just year after year after year, kudos to them, because I don't think I would be learning another language during this time.
No, we have to. We have to. If you want to succeed here in the United States, you better learn.
Yeah.
At least a little bit, you know, because I found very hard when people don't know, or they don't try to learn, and they don't try to better themselves, because that's part of the game. It's not only improve your physique, but you have to improve yourself as a whole. And I think I speak the language, at least some. It's very important to represent well the IFBB in general, or the bodybuilding, I would say.
Yeah, that's a lot of sense. Isa is just absolutely adorable.
She's so cute.
She is.
That's what I think so too. And she's just, you know, she is the tiniest one out there when they're all, you know, all lined up, but obviously gorgeous, fits all the right criteria. She was second, right? Did she have
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And then we have, was it Angela?
Angela, yeah.
She is very tall and has definitely a little bit of a different structure, but they're liking it, and had her
Like it works for her, you know. She looks incredible too, and she's always right there in the mix. So
yep, absolutely. And then one of our favorites is Cass. I love her, and I'm so happy for her to have moved up so much in such a short period of time. She just has you know, just a gorgeous look to her. Let's see if we can.
I agree.
Such a stunner.
I know she's pumped to be in that top 5. It's huge for her. She's been working her butt off, and wellness was hard. I mean, that was a competitive group, and you have a lot of top level names coming in that didn't again make the top 5 that were in that top 5 last year. So for her to knock some of them out, that's a big deal. She looked great. So I'm so happy for her. So happy.
Yeah, I know her only, like, she has a little bit of a thicker waist, and I think she knows this. She's also had 2 hernia surgeries. So I don't know if that has anything to do with trying to keep the waist small, or engagement, or anything like that. But it's really like, and her photo shoot pictures are always stunning as well. I love her, you know, following her on Instagram. She's just a gorgeous just a beautiful human being. This is the other thing too about this category. The women are all stunning. I just feel like I'm just a face person, and I just feel like this is part of the package. Like the hair, the makeup, the glam, like it should all it's all part of what bodybuilding is when you're competing, I think.
I agree.
Totally.
I love
Yeah,
her.
and she has improved. She has actually, she's much smaller, I think, on the upper body. Overall, she's smaller, but her body fits much better the standards for the class this year. That's, when I saw this girl for the first time on Instagram, I immediately sent her a message last year or whatever year was. I was like, oh my God, you're gonna do so well. And she was like super excited that I reached out, and here we go. She's sport.
Yep, here she is now, Olympia,
Exactly.
top Olympia competitor.
Yes. Oh my word. Brooke, wouldn't you freak out if Juliana sent you a message and said, you're just gonna kill it in this sport?
I have freaked out like the time she's commented on things. I'm like, oh my gosh, Juliana just
Thank you.
gosh, you are just such an inspiration. You have no idea. No idea.
I really appreciate it. And I'm happy that I inspire someone like you who is following beautiful steps in women's physique. Keep it up, just like that.
Thank you. I've admired you for so long. So, like I said, you still to me are like the model for women's physique.
So sweet. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ryan here again. Just another one like this. The top 5 in this category is like, again, it could have been, everybody is pretty much perfect in their own particular way. And so, yeah, how can you not love it? I mean, every girl is beautiful. Every girl is sort of unique, but they all fit the criteria. You can't really go wrong, honestly.
I do think if Rayani came a little smoother and smaller, I think she would have give Franciele a hard time.
Yeah.
She really amazing bone structure. She was just a little too hard and a little too big, I think, for this. You need to dial in a little better. I think she's really dangerous. So is the girl who didn't place the top 5, Giselle. I think she's gorgeous too. It's another one that I think is really dangerous. People should watch out for that one.
And here's the thing, those girls that are like, they didn't quite make the top 5, but they're right there in the mix. Those are truthfully the ones that you really have to be concerned about, because next year they're going to be more determined than ever to crack that top 5. So because you make the top 5 one year doesn't mean that you're safe for years to come. You have to make sure that nobody takes your spot. So you have to work twice as hard as you've ever worked before to ensure that you can maybe keep your placement or stay within that top 5, because girls are so hungry to take your spot. That's the name of the game. You might love these competitors and you have this camaraderie, but at the end of the day, it's a competition and you still want to beat one another, so that's what's always terrifying to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know there's going to be somebody that's trying to take my position. I don't want that, so
you get thirsty and hungry.
Yes.
Girls, I have to leave because my babysitter gonna leave now.
Well, we just have one more. So we're gonna say thank you, Juliana, so much for being here and with your input. We both admire, everyone listening, watching, admire and respect you so much. And there's a whole new year coming up. So we'll have you back to talk about some more of these. That would be so great.
I am looking forward to it. It was awesome. Brooke, congratulations. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very nice being part of this.
Yes, ma'am.
Love
Thank
you guys.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, what an honor.
It's crazy. I was talking to Anthony today and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna like kind of fangirl a little bit, because Juliana, like whenever I was up and coming, it was Juliana and obviously Daniel and Bailey. So And like I said, I just thought that she was such a beautiful representative for women's physique. And I'll say that for years to come, because I will always believe that. She just looked great. She had muscle in all the right areas and just was so feminine. And, that's just what the division needs to remain. So I'll always model it after her.
I know, I feel kind of silly because every time I talk to her, I'm like, let me just give you 40 million compliments first because I want you to understand. I think she knows, but I don't know if she, especially as we get further and further away from her wins, I'm like, how many people are not going to remember this woman who really set the bar for this category? And it's not to take anything away from Dana, because Dana, she was first, but first doesn't always mean best. It just means that's what we started with. And Dana has provided so much for, bodybuilding and the IFBB in so many different ways. But I think there's just people that when you think about it, this is the sport of, muscle and aesthetics, and it's about how it's all put together. And we know who those people are because I remember even taking Anna to bodybuilding competitions when she was younger, and she could pick the winners because that's who her eye was drawn to. It's not, there's criteria, but it's not rocket science. It's who do you love when you look at it.
It's who's pleasing to the eye, no matter the division, whether it's a male bodybuilder or women's bikini competitor, what is pleasing to the eye. And like I was saying, and that's a prime example of it. You might not know anything about the sport in particular, but you know who you're drawn to, because it's aesthetic, it's pleasing to the eye. They have the right kind of shape, the right kind of balance, symmetry, whatever the case may be, and they're just pleasing to look at, So I think, and I'm always going to be a firm believer in know your sport. So regardless of the division that you're in, you should know the history behind it, because a lot of times the reason why these divisions have evolved to where they are now is because of the competitors that started it. And you could obviously argue that they've evolved so much that there's people that were in the years past that might not be nearly as competitive in what is now considered, competitive in that particular division. But at the end of the day, the reason why it has evolved is because of that particular individual. They all had a role, and every person should have a general idea of who began their division, who were the previous past Olympia champions, those top 5 contenders, whatever the case may be. You should know, and because they all deserve respect. We would not be where we are today without them.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And this is why I like bringing her back. And I know she likes being involved in the sport and she follows the sport. So, it's like people, you need to recognize and respect your elders, because, like you said, these are the ones who paved the way. These are the shoulders that you're standing on to get to where you need to be, Yeah,
I so agree. Completely agree.
So let's talk about fitness. We got to cover the fitness category. So Missy ended up reclaiming her title. I want to just say, so Oksana had to bow out. She was fighting a calf injury that she just decided, I think it was not going to hold out for her or bode well. And so she ended up, taking that hit, which is unfortunate because despite everybody, all the new up and comers, once again, I think Oksana will always be my favorite because of the routines that she performs. It's my style of what I like to look at. It's might not be as gymnasticy or stunty or as impressive as some of the other stuff, but I get drawn into the story that Oksana tells when she's on stage. And it just, I like that, making me feel emotionally connected to somebody. She's so beautiful and just telling this, whatever the story is. So
yeah, I was bummed about that. And I think so many other people were, because she's such a great performer. Every routine she's ever performed has just been unreal. And it seems like each year you're like, there's no possible way she could top it. And then she does. It's just something completely and utterly insane. And it's so powerful. She's truly an artist, So I was quite bummed, and I can imagine a ton of other people were, but I commend her. And I know that's got to be a really tough call, being there at the Olympia, knowing that, hey, can I just pull through and get this done and make it through the weekend, one last performance, and to have to make that call, that's got to be heartbreaking. You spent months dieting and just busting your butt, and to be there and have made it there and to have to pull, that's a tough decision. But at the end of the day, she knows her body, and I commend her for choosing her health first. A lot of other people probably wouldn't have done that. And it doesn't take anything away from her. She's a phenomenal competitor, one of the all-time best in the sport. So, and I think she'll probably be back.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I should have gone to her while we were sitting here talking. I'm like hanging out on Missy's page, but you know, if you're not following, Oksana, then you probably should, because, she's got little clips of like some of her best work on here. It's always amazing. It's always beautiful, or like just wow factor. She is extremely, you just said it exactly right, Brooke. She's very creative. She's absolutely an artist, and, yeah, so much fun to watch. So hopefully maybe for the Arnold, she'll be able to be competing for the Arnold.
Yeah, I would love to see her there.
Yeah, same. And then obviously Whitney was helping out a lot with stuff because she was out this year as well, having some health problems that she's working through. And I don't think she's been real open about what the deal is with that, but just know that it was enough that she ended up pulling out, as well as would have been the returning champ. So with that, we had two of our best, definitely top 5, top 10 who were coming out. So Missy ended up taking first place, not to say that she couldn't have done that if those other two were there. I don't want to.
Yeah, Missy had won before, so she reclaimed her title. Missy is another really great performer. I loved her routine. And, being backstage, seeing her, I was like, oh my gosh, she is about to do just something crazy with her routine. But, I was proud for Missy. I know as an athlete, to lose your title, it upsets you. It makes you angry, and rightfully so. You want to come in, and we're all gunning for that top spot. Everybody is. So when it's taken from you, I think it makes you that more hungry for the next year to come in and try to reclaim that title. But I think whether Oksana or Whitney was there, I think those girls would have been battling it out. It would have been a really fierce competition, and it was a fierce competition regardless. But man, it would have been a lot of fun to watch them all up there.
Yeah, in the fitness category, we all know is its own. I mean, I say it all the time just because I think it's so underrated. It's just so extremely difficult. And, on that note, I kind of want to go to Ariel. She had made this post because obviously Ariel was what was maybe the favorite coming in for this top spot. And after winning the Arnold, and she had a couple of bobbles in her routine. People, I guess, had said like what happened. Not that she felt like she needed to explain herself, but it's, it was nice that she did. But I know she had said that there were some spots in the floor that were dipped, and she had marked them so that she wouldn't be doing her handstand routines or anything in those spots. And then they removed them for finals. So she didn't get to, so she ended up being in a couple of those spots where the floor wasn't exactly, and other things. She's like, you can't always be your best, even when you want to be your best. Like, you just never know. And for these girls, having to perform like this, what would you say, Brooke?
No kidding. I commend those fitness girls. It's what they have to go through is completely and utterly insane. To be in this calorie deficit and be so depleted, and here they are performing on stage to the magnitude that they are, is just it's unreal. I commend them. I think I love the fitness division. I enjoy watching them. And you know what? At the end of the day, we're all human. You got to cut these girls a little bit of grace, you know, at some point. And I understand it. There's always going to be a show that you're probably going to look back on and be like, I could have been better. You know, maybe I was a little bit off. I think we all have those from time to time, and we're human. It's going to happen. Not every prep is going to be perfect. And I think that's something that every competitor needs to realize and understand. And I'm not saying don't give your 100%, but things happen. You know, you're going to have some hurdles that you're going to have to get over, some obstacles, and, you know, stress, things like that all play a major role in your physique. And unfortunately, sometimes it is what it is. And you might be going into that particular show knowing that this might not be the best physique that you have brought before. But again, like I've said, that's just kind of the name of the game. You know, do you pull, or do you think, okay, this is maybe not it's not my best, but I'm still going to be able to kind of be right in the mix? Or do you continue to go and try to battle it out on stage? You know, you're a competitor, and a lot of these people don't want to quit. You know, if you're healthy and you're in a spot where you can still be competitive, I would say, heck yeah, if it were me, I'm still going to go out there and compete, you know. And at the end of the day, there's always going to be somebody that's not going to like your look anyway. So whatever.
Right.
She's number 3 in the world. She should be proud of that, you know. And she is gonna, I assure you, she'll come back with a vengeance and try to get that title next year. And I don't know if she's gonna compete the Arnold. I would assume that she would, because she's the defending champ. So I love Ariel. I think she's a phenomenal competitor. I will always be a fan of hers. And I just know that that girl's determined to, and she's probably not going to stop. This is probably just going to fire her up more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And she's still, I mean, she's young, she still has time, and it'll be, you know, like you can't, yeah, I mean, you can't determine what's going to happen. You just never know if all the chips are going to line up for you. So, so Jacqueline obviously was able to move up to second place. I do love her look a lot, and her performances as well. She had a really great performance here. She's very graceful and yet powerful. Again, very close to, like, I kind of equate her to, her performances are like Oksana's, with it very much of a story that she's telling. Yeah, it's beautiful.
She looked incredible. I think that was her all-time best, in my opinion. She came in, and, you know, I commend her actually, because going into that, the fitness category in itself, a lot of people probably weren't assuming that she would be right there to potentially claim the title. And I think after prejudging, you know, obviously their judging's a little bit different, and their routines are worth 2/3 of their points, but within the physique round, you could argue that she might have had Missy. You know, it was kind of like, cool, which one are they going to go for, you know? So I know she's probably pretty pumped with that. Obviously, that's her best placing in Olympia, I believe, ever. So she's got to be on cloud 9.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun to watch. Some of these girls, it's so funny. They've probably been doing this for a few years, but some of them, I never really noticed until the last couple of years or so. And she was one of them last year. She had this white, I don't know, maybe it was for the Arnold, but she had like, no, it was Olympia. She had like this white little dress. I think she ended up pulling it off at some point. But again, a very like romantic yet powerful, graceful, everything just flows with her. I just love her. Let's see here. Oh, and then Sarah's been doing this for a long time. This was definitely her best routine, her best look. I feel like in the past she's had a couple of like bobbles or whatever, and she's never placed this high at the Olympia before. So yeah, this was just it was a really good look. The routine just was flawless. It just went smooth.
Yeah, I just love that whole division. I love watching them. She looked incredible.
You know
incredible.
You know what's funny, Brooke? So I did watch all the fitness girls, and I noticed that some of the newer ones, I don't think that they were quite prepared for the level of intensity that the Olympia stage is, because some of the ones that are first timers were petering out at the end. They did not have the stamina to do, and I'm not like, I couldn't do it, but I'm just saying this is what I noticed. It's like, okay, less jumping is happening. And they even talked about it in the commentary to say, like, do you try to front load a lot of your stunts? And like, I think it was Whitney who was like, maybe you could, but the judges will notice this. But a lot of the girls didn't have really the energy to continue with that all the way through to the end.
Yeah, you know, and I will say this, and I'm just going to say this just from like a stage standpoint. The Olympia stage is a whole nother ball game. You know, it is monstrous. It's the biggest stage you're ever going to step on, and it's very intimidating. You know, you go out there and you have the biggest crowd of individuals that you've ever stepped foot in front of. There's, from like the production aspect as well, there's camera crews everywhere. I mean, they go above and beyond. So if that's your first Olympia, it can be very, very overwhelming and very intimidating. So I can imagine when it is your first time, you're going out on stage, especially performing a fitness routine of the magnitude that they have to perform. It's, you know, their nerves might get the best of them. But here's the thing, going into years after this, they know what to expect now. So I'm sure it's going to only better prepare them for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then Shelly was the last one. Oh, I don't know. Maybe
no Instagram.
Yeah, or maybe got deactivated.
Yeah.
She maybe she's taking a little break. That's probably not a bad idea either.
Yeah.
She is gorgeous. Michelle is just absolutely she's absolutely gorgeous. Her routine was really, really fun to watch, and she has an amazing physique. So
I thought she looked just incredible. And I remember seeing her at prejudging, and I was actually like, who is that? You know, I had no idea who she was. But she definitely caught my eye at prejudging. I think that girl, if she wants it, I think that she'll be fierce. She'll be a competitor that you're going to have to be mindful of in the future. She just looked absolutely incredible. She was one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, yep, same here. There was a couple of girls that really stood out to me that were kind of brand new, maybe just to me, in all the different categories. Then I'm excited to see where they're going to be coming up. I wanted to talk about in the women's physique category. So Ashley Jones, when she walked out, I don't know if they're going to have to, I actually, she reached out to me. I reached out to her before about having her on the podcast because I just love her physique. She was so muscular, and I don't know. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen now. I would have liked to see her in, amongst some of the other, higher up girls. I don't know if they thought she was too muscular. Do you have a thought on her?
Yeah, you know, I feel like I've seen her a little bit leaner in the past. But she, you know, she's got like a little bit of like she's shorter. So she packs a punch. A little bit of muscle on her is going to look monstrous, you know, because she is a little bit shorter. But I think at the end of the day, she still has an incredible physique. I think she probably just needed to maybe come in a little bit tighter, a little bit more conditioned. But I like her look a lot. I think she's a lot of fun to watch. I think she's beautiful. I think she's got a beautiful physique. But I think I'll tell you, like in going into the Olympia, I was concerned about her. She was somebody that I thought could have easily been in the top 5. And I think she can creep into the top 5 and do some damage next year. You know, I think it's just a matter of if she wants to do it. And I don't know, maybe if the judges did think that she had a little bit more muscle, maybe she wasn't conditioned enough. I don't know, but I'll tell you that women's physique, and really in every division, but it was just such a stacked lineup of girls. It was just incredible. And it made me proud to actually see, you know, because at some shows you'll start to see like, oh, the top 5 are really like leaps above everybody else, but that's not the case, you know. It truthfully is not the case. It's not like the top 5 are way better than everybody else. It's everybody looks good, and you could kind of argue that there's people that maybe were not in the top 5 that you could argue that they should have been in the top 5, you know. So
Yeah. This
it's
was
getting
I was gonna say it is getting, well, it's not a bad problem to have, right? If
nah.
everybody starts looking amazing,
Mhm.
because it used to just be, oh, 2 or 3 are really who you notice. And now it's like, oh, we're having so many more great contenders. Like the athletes are really stepping up their game.
It is getting more and more fierce, and obviously the numbers are getting, oh my gosh, higher and higher. It's completely crazy. It's unreal. And I don't know how I felt about it kind of going into the Olympia, just because it was so huge. But I mean, I thought it actually was fine. But I am grateful that I didn't have like 60 girls in my class. There's 24 of us. So maybe that's why it wasn't as bad, because I didn't get to experience those kind of numbers. But man, still all 24 look phenomenal in our division.
I wanted to call attention to this girl. I saw her name is Rejoice. I don't know what her last name is now. She was in figure, and her structure is just, and she's gorgeous. Her structure, I just loved her. I think she could have been a little bit tighter. She has quite a bit of muscle on her, but look at her structure is really,
it's a good look.
Yeah, she has a really, really good look. And I'd never seen her before, and she just kind of stood out. And I don't think I don't know if she was in second call outs. Look at this, look at the back.
And she looks incredible.
Yeah. I thought, oh, you would do well in women's physique if you tightened that up.
I'll tell you, some of those girls, I'm like, thank God she's a figure, you know. I do that all the time. But you know, I think too, you often have to like put things in perspective. All of these girls that qualified, I mean, most of them like qualified based off of a win, right? So they won an Olympia qualifier. So everybody's good. Every person is good at that level. So it becomes, I mean, it's hard. It's super, super challenging. And even though people that qualified based off of points, it's like a lot of them are right there in the mix. I know Autumn, I like to talk about her because I was so proud that she got that qualification. But Autumn was finishing in second place. Like, she was right there in the mix every single time. And she was the leader in points, but she was able to kind of grab that qualification off of a win there right at the end of the season. But you got to keep in mind, it doesn't matter. Every competitor that races that stage is good. So just be mindful of that. I don't want anybody to think like, oh, this girl made it to the Olympia, but she didn't place top 5. That doesn't mean anything. That truthfully does not take away from how good of a competitor that they are. And you see competitors, like we're kind of talking about like the hunger aspect. You see competitors that were maybe finishing in, you know, that lower tier at the Olympia, and the next year they crack the top 5 because they're coming back with a vengeance, you know. So everybody looks phenomenal, and I'm just grateful that I got the opportunity to be on that stage.
Yeah, and I think the more that we look at all these competitors, the more like you kind of realize how you know, how nice it was to actually be able to maintain your top 3 spot. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so happy. And then today at the gym, you know, I'm training and I'm like, oh my God, okay, so I can hold that title for this whole year, but then I'm gonna have to make sure I get better. But it's crazy. I know that's a silly thing to think about, but no, I'd actually think about that, you know. But that was huge for me. I'm so grateful that I was able to stay in that top 3. That's just, truthfully, that's a huge win for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I gotta say, I mean, I love it every year, you know, that I've seen you up there now. I mean, you are the person that my eye is drawn to. Like, I think my head goes, this is women's physique. Who looks like women's physique when they walk out there? Oh, it's Brooke. And, you know, once again, you just have that aura about you when you walk out. You're up there having a great time. It's portrayed. It's
I
amazing.
truly love being on stage. I really do. So, oh my, the Roomba just went off if you heard that. So it's going. But no, I enjoy being on that stage, and I will always forever be titled like the people's champ. And I think I'm okay with that. I think to me that's an honor that people that I don't even know, they're a fan of my physique and they're cheering me on, and they want me to do well. So I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful for that. And the amount of support that I just had is, I can't believe it, to be honest. I cannot believe the amount of people that have reached out to me or came to me at the Olympia and just praised me. And it's just like people asking for my autograph. It's just like crazy. I'm like, you want my autograph? Yeah, I'm like, okay. But it's just amazing. I'm fortunate. I'm grateful. And I'm gonna ride this until I can't and no longer. It's been a great journey full of ups and downs, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Nothing.
Well, you know what, Brooke, this is the cool thing about this sport is it is a platform for you to leave a legacy, and not just, this is why, like, it bothers me when people are talking about like, oh, it's just a physique, or I had like some Instagram troll say like, this is a glorified beauty pageant. And it's like, you don't understand it at all. Like, I don't even know how to simplify this for you, dude, that you don't even know that this doesn't really even have anything to do with what somebody looks like, because doing that changes who you are in every aspect of your life, and living a life that is progressive and is inspiring to other people is changes people, and this is what you're doing, and you're humble, you have this humility, you have this sweetness, you're like America's sweetheart, you're like the America's sweetheart of women's physique or of bodybuilding, and
Yeah.
so many things that are just beyond like a bicep curl.
And that's an honor, and that I truly believe that you're absolutely right in that regard. I think people are just ignorant, and they don't understand that there's so much more to bodybuilding than just your physique. And you never know the impact that somebody has. The things that some people have told me are just completely amazing. Like, I wouldn't have thought that whatever it was that I had done would have made an impact on somebody's life, but something so small could have made an impact on them. And I know that there's competitors, like going back to Juliana, like, that just truly motivated me and inspired me. And she had no idea what she was doing at that time, in a sense that she was motivating Brooke Walker, but she was a major inspiration for me. And you could argue that if I was never inspired, I probably wouldn't have done what I'm doing now, So you just truly don't know the impact that you could have on somebody. So I think some of these competitors obviously need to kind of put that into perspective. You never know who's looking, and you could really change somebody's life for the greater good, just by being you and being an inspiration and kind of like chasing your dreams and your goals. And that might, inspire somebody to do the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really about finding whatever let someone who has found what they're passionate about and is driving their life to inspire you to also find what you're passionate about. Because it doesn't have to be bodybuilding. It doesn't have to be anything about that, but whatever you are passionate about is going to inspire other people to be passionate about something. So.
Absolutely. Everybody should be passionate about something in life. Passion is an amazing, it's an emotion, passion, but it's like, if you love something, chase it, fight for it, because it'll be worth it. Even if you feel like you'll never get it, my gosh, there's no harm in trying, go for it.
Well, and too, this is way more about the journey than it is about the destination. I hate to be so cliche.
No, it's so true. Like, I love the Olympia, and I said this about last year's Olympia, and I'm going to say it about this year's Olympia. It came and went. Like, I can't even believe that it's over, and I was so exhausted, and I was ready to get home yesterday. I flew in yesterday. But just being back, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all over. Like, and I'm thinking about what I was doing at this given point last week. I was like getting prepared to step on the biggest stage of my life, you know. And here it is, it's done and over with. I can't even believe it. So that brief moment, that weekend, and the moment that you're on stage is very, very small in comparison to the journey itself. So in that journey for me in particular this year, this prep was my best prep and my worst prep all in the same regard, you know, because the life was going on. Like my physique was looking the best that it had ever looked, health was great, but life was like trying to get me, it's trying to sabotage me. But that's what I'm going to remember, is I'm going to remember the journey. And I'm just so completely proud of myself for continuing on throughout that process. That's what I'm going to always remember about this prep. And obviously the Olympia was just great, and that was the icing on the cake. But I'm going to remember everything that I endured, and I stayed on track, and I focused on what it was that I needed to do. And I'm forever proud of that. So proud of that.
This is, I think, a lot of the beauty of having a goal that you really can't deviate from and let obstacles get in your way to deter you from, because life is going to constantly be throwing curveballs at you. You had some huge happen to you, you know.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's everybody. You know, we're all going to be going through things. Life is a roller coaster. You're gonna have really great high points and some really bad, terrible low points. And especially when you're prepping for a show, if you're prepping for a show for 16 or 20 weeks, it's a long time, you know. So things are bound to happen, and you just really, you got to kind of do what you can to get through with that given time, and focus on your why. Why are you doing this? You know, stay on plan, stay focused. You will never be upset with yourself for continuing to chase a dream or a goal ever, you know. So that's, like I said, the placement was great, and I'm so happy about that. But I'm so proud that I just didn't quit. I mean, and I wanted to, like, I don't know, every other day. It's like, but I didn't, and I continued, and I will forever be proud of that, because that was a huge accomplishment for me. And I'm sure that there's tons of other competitors that stepped on that Olympia stage this weekend, and they were going through things throughout that prep. And you know what? They managed, and they made it through, and they got on stage, and I'm sure they're feeling on cloud nine too, because they made it. And that's hard at times. You don't always want to compete. I promise you that.
Yeah. I think that when you decide that you're going to do something, the first thing that is going to happen is that life is going to challenge you to see if you can get derailed. And,
Yes.
it's up to you to decide, like you said, what's your why? What are you passionate about? What is important to you? And how strong are you? Are you going to be able to stay focused and give your energy where you need to give your energy, prioritize things, all these things? These are all the things that make this sport, I think, so respectable, because like I said, it's so much more than just, you know, lifting weights at the gym, or a diet. It's all of the elements that translate into characteristics of a person.
Absolutely. That is so true. It is. I'll tell you, if you survive and you make it through like a contest prep, and you survive and make it through a contest prep where like your whole life is like in shambles, you are going to come out of that a very strong individual, and you'll only prevail. I mean, I wholeheartedly believe that. You might go to some deep, dark places, but once you make it through, you're going to be so much stronger than you've ever been before.
So have you had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or what'd you do?
Oh my gosh. So last night when I got home, oh my God, I went, and I've just like been craving cereal. So I went and I got like a box of like oat and honey granola cereal, which is delicious, by the way. And then I got peanut butter lovers trail mix from CVS. And I don't know why I do this, but I mix my trail mix in my cereal. I have no idea, but it was delicious. And I ate the whole box of cereal. So good. And I was so miserable that I had to lay on the floor. And I was like, oh my God, why did you do that? But I have no regrets. I don't care. I did it, and it was delicious. And my stomach's been upset all day today.
That's so funny. That's really good. I forgot. Yeah, you're I like trail mix too. Like it's something I crave. Sometimes it's just like, yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
I am a trail mix junkie. It's a legitimate problem, and I hate how much I love them. I like, and it's I like the good trail mix. I like the candy that's like glorified junk, but I love it all. I don't care. I'll eat all of it. I'll eat the whole bag. It's a problem. It is a problem.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so good. So what's the plan now? How you are obviously you have to take a little bit of time to kind of recover, come back to normal. And
Yeah, so I'm gonna rebound. My body obviously needs a break. But Matt, my coach, has just been like just a complete godsend. Like I cannot say enough good things about him. He was by my side at the Olympia every step of the way. And like I feel like I'll get emotional talking about him, but to obviously to fill John's shoes, it's a big role. John to me was like a father figure. He just genuinely cared, and Matt genuinely cares. He really does. He wants me to do well, and it just shows. He doesn't even have to tell me. I just know. And he was anxious and nervous and excited for me, and I'm just blessed. And for him to be as pumped for me going into this next year's Olympia, and for us to have this game plan is just, it's so exciting for me, because he wants me to do well, and I'm excited. I think Matt and I are going to be like a force because we just mesh well. He tells me what to do. I'm going to do it. I trust his judgment. I trust him. I know he cares about the Brooke outside of bodybuilding, in my health. And that's just huge for me because I hopefully we'll have a nice long life left to live after bodybuilding. So I do care about that life and I want to be mindful of that. And he is. So we're going to plan for the Olympia next year and try to pack on a little bit more muscle from behind and come in a little bit wider, a little bit thicker up top in my back. So that's our game plan. And I think we're going to do it. Like, there's just this good energy and I just feel like it's going to happen. I feel like everything's aligning as it should. And I just know that we are going to like do some damage next year. So we're going to be the A team. I just know it.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to see, the package that you bring and what's going to happen. I'm curious what Sarah is going to go and work on. I wonder what they, do you know anything of what they had said about her feedback?
No, I have no idea. Sarah's a competitor, so I'm sure she probably wasn't very happy that she got second, coming in the clear favorite.
Yeah.
And it's never, a lot of people basically said that Sarah she was unbeatable, and I think that's the first mistake because I think everybody is beatable, and I think as a competitor, you should never think that you're unbeatable because once you start to really think that, I think you're in trouble because everybody's chasing you and, we might think that you're truly the best, but you better stay on top of it because otherwise somebody is going to sneak in and beat you. And I think Natalia is always right there. She's right there. So she's hungry. She wants that victory. And I think she knew it was within grasp and she buckled herself down and she got it, and I think that was Natalia's best. I think she looked good. That was her out. She looked very polished to me in every regard. And I do think that maybe Sarah looked a little off, but I don't know if maybe Sarah she's a reigning champ and she thought, hey, I'm the clear favorite. I am going to come in there and win. And Natalia snuck it and not today, you're not, that was Natalia's day. She looked incredible. I'm pumped for her, but I think obviously it's not like you can count Sarah out. I think she'll be coming back next year, maybe a little bit more fired up to win it, So
I'm curious. I didn't look at comparisons, but I feel like Sarah looked the same as last year. I'm trying to think what the improvements were. She obviously has an amazing like her glutes are her fire. Like that's what is the most noticeable about her. Yeah.
But No, and I agree with you. I think that Sarah obviously looked great. You know, you can't take that away from her. She still finished in second, which is a huge accomplishment. But yeah, I believe that Sarah, you could argue that she didn't make really any improvements. She came in, brought kind of a very similar physique, and I'm a big believer in you can have a killer muscle group, right? Like, absolutely, but it's not a glute contest, right? So like it's all about your entire physique. So who's bringing the best overall package? So somebody might have better glutes or a better back on stage, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're or the overall best physique on stage. So
I mean,
I don't, you know, I think.
well,
Go
Julia
ahead.
said that too about a couple of the girls too. Like they weren't as balanced as what she had. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think that is that's very important, especially for, you know, the particular category. Like we're looking for an X frame. We're looking for uniformity, top to bottom.
Yeah. And that's huge. If you don't have balance, then I feel like everything else is out the window, you know, like, and I will always say this, like, you don't want to have a muscle group that stands out because to me that feels like you're not balanced, right? You want to be like, man, everything looks good. You don't have necessarily like one strong muscle group. And I know that's hard because maybe we're all like, we have weaker and stronger areas for sure, but it is all about trying to create that uniformity within your physique. Everything should be balanced and aesthetic and symmetrical. So that's what it is. It's about bodybuilding. Symmetry is huge.
Yeah, that's 100% correct, because you don't want to see anything particularly stand out, good or bad. I mean, this is why, you know, posing is so important as well. You want your posing to look like you are presenting a package, not like something looks weird. You're like, what are their hands doing, or what is, you know, so yeah, it's trying to just look aesthetically appealing all around.
Yes, completely agree.
I was gonna say, I was thinking about how do you remember the you know, the back and forth between Nicole Wilkins and it was Candace Keen, and they just went back and forth for figure. Like one year one was the winner. I think they did that 4 times, you know.
Crazy.
So yeah, it's like you almost feel like you're comfortable, and then but you're not. You have to secure your spot and fight for your first place spot, and then yeah, I
And I love that. I think that's kind of like the beauty of the sport too, that you can't ever relax, because the minute that you do relax, someone's going to sneak up and take that title from you. So that's what makes it kind of like amazing, you know, because nothing's safe. And I'm going to feel like that going into next year. I'm going to have the same mentality like, oh God, I don't want to get knocked out of that top 3. I better do what I can, you know, because here's the thing, like this was my best physique ever. And last year I placed 3rd. Well, this year I don't think that I would have placed 3rd without physique. You know what I mean? Like it's you got to continue to get better and make those improvements. And I think, and I do believe from a judging aspect, if you could have an incredible physique and it might be good enough to keep you within that top 5, but if you're not making progress and others are within that division, I think that they're gonna reward the ones that are making the progress, you know.
this is absolutely true, because if they tell you, you know, and I think this is the problem with being first place. You might think, oh, I don't need to make any improvements, I just need to hold this spot. But if the people behind you are making improvements, you have to improve in some way or another.
Absolutely, because all they're doing is making that kind of like, they're just kind of cutting into how far ahead of you are, that you are in front of them. I don't know how to word anything that I just said, but
it's like a
just came out like throw up. Kept coming out, and I don't know what happened there, but you might have known what I meant. I don't know.
There's like a gap, and they're shortening that gap. They're getting closer. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I was going for. I was trying to talk about that. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. Everybody else is making improvements, and nobody's perfect. Absolutely nobody's perfect. So even if you are the clear winner and you are number 1 within that division, that does not mean that you're perfect. So you have got to make some sort of improvement, no matter how big or small it may be, to continue to keep that title. I mean, just look at how far the sport's evolved, you know? So like Nicole Wilkins, she was a phenomenal figure competitor. I mean, amazing. I think, how many titles did she win? 5, something like that.
Yeah, 5, yeah, or 4 or 5.
Incredible. Yeah, she's completely incredible. And you look at that physique now, and would that physique make the top 5 in the figure division? You could argue that it wouldn't, you know. But at that given moment, she was the winner, the clear favorite. I mean, champion. And you could say, well, she wasn't perfect. You know what I mean? And I think she looked incredible. I'm not taking anything away from her, because I think we all can make improvements. I don't think anybody's perfect, you know. That's what bodybuilding is trying to create that perfect physique.
I'm trying to think how many times Nicole Wilkins did win now, because you said 5, and now I was thinking that there was even more, but I don't know. I was gonna Google it, but I can't see. Yeah, I mean, there's like when I look at Sarah, I think that when she does her front double, she's very flat from shoulders to biceps. I think she could have more delt and more bicep peak.
Yeah.
That's what I see as her flaw. And her posing, I think she could work on. I think her posing style is hard for me to follow.
100%.
If you understand what I'm saying there.
And here's the thing, even from the regard of posing, I think that people need to try to improve there. Posing for me was huge. Last year, you know, I didn't know what to expect at the Olympia, on the Olympia stage, because it was the first time that I stood on that stage. So I was reserved when it came to my posing, because in years past, I had gotten on stage and I was so gassed and I was like cramping on stage. And I don't know what the heck I was doing on stage, to be honest. I was like, it was a nightmare disaster. And I have like a PTSD basically since then. So every time I get on stage now, I'm very mindful of like how I pump up prior to coming on stage. And I practice my posing. It seems like I get more and more serious from a posing regard each show that I do. So, and not even like in terms of my routine, but like I hold my poses a lot more. So my front double, I get it and I hold it. My front relaxed, I get it and I hold it, because there's times where you're on that stage and they hold you forever. And it's brutal. It's really, really challenging. And I think that you can't overlook posing. So I think that even if you're not necessarily improving from like a physique standpoint, improve from a posing standpoint, because those things you can obviously see them on stage. You're like, oh, well, you look good, but your posing's kind of off, you know, like just looks odd. So that I was very mindful of that going into this year. I wanted to be able, I can't tell you how many times I posed, and that was great too, because he would run me through posing over and over and over again. And I was just gassed. I mean, some of our posing sessions were unreal, but I'm grateful for it because it helped.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill. I know it's funny because when I was competing, I think it was the second show that I went to, I was talking with the judges, and one of the judges said to me, I didn't think that you looked like much when you walked out until you started hitting your poses. And that just tells you can really amplify what little, like, let's say what little you have, what your physique is, if you know how to pose yourself correctly. I mean, I would even say this with like people talking about pictures on Instagram. You've got girls that are like, oh, I didn't think she looked like that in person. I'm like, well, we know how to pose our bodies, you know?
Absolutely. And, you know, going back, I am truthfully one of the smallest girls on that stage in the physique division. I truthfully am. And it's comical to me because I'll see people like post on social media like, oh, she needs to move up to women's bodybuilding. And I'm like, you guys have no idea how big I truly am. It's just a photo and my posing. You can pose big, you know. I'm like, if you were to see me in person, I'm this little small petite thing, you know. But posing is huge, and I think a lot of times people often overlook it. And I think even posing from like a training aspect, the more you pose, the more your muscles are going to start to pop. You're going to fine tune those like small details. So just a different style of training that will only help you from a physique standpoint. So practice your posing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, I always tell people too, like whatever category you're going to be competing in, or even if you're not going to be competing, like I think it's important to know how to do like a lat spread, just because it helps you connect with your lats. It helps you better when you're training your back. If you know how to put up your lats. So yeah, there's so many little things that I think people don't really realize, and things that they could be doing to help present themselves better on stage that doesn't even have to be you know, the years and years of training. Like these are little things you can do. And I mean, we already talked about some of the people just not peaking correctly or other things happening, how that can change the whole look of your physique as well. And it's kind of a crapshoot sometimes.
It is. Absolutely, it is. I think that we've all kind of been in a situation where maybe we've missed our peak, or maybe you like load too hard too quick, or maybe you're a little bit more reserved and you don't load hard enough. But it's just person dependent, and I think the longer you do these things, the easier it is for you, in a sense that you understand how your body works, you understand how your body responds to particular things. I think stress is huge. The longer you do these things, the less stressful it is, because you know what to expect. You've experienced that before. It's not as overwhelming. And stress management, oh my gosh, that's what you have to do, especially going into that last little bit of prep. You're in such a sensitive state. So any sort of stimulus that's around you, you're going to respond to it. So it could be good and it could be bad. So manage your stress. Stress is huge, and it can truthfully make or break you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, this is all good stuff. And I know, Brooke, we're planning on doing another episode talking about like goals for the new year and keeping in track with those. And I think even from a competitive standpoint, if you're thinking about competing, we can talk about it from that aspect as well. You know, and if you're ready and all these things. So I'm looking forward to the upcoming year. We'll have so many more episodes where we can talk about the shows that are coming up, and then just, you know, advice for people listening, whatever level they're at. I'm super excited. I thank you so much for being such a great representative and always taking the time to do this. I just love it, and I appreciate your friendship, and I'm gonna cry.
I just love you. No, I'm so grateful for you, and I truthfully am just so excited about this next season coming up, and I'm just excited about the year. So I feel like we did like a New Year's resolution podcast last year too. I feel maybe we did. I don't know if I might be making that up, but it seems like we might have. But I love doing the New Year's resolutions, because it's no matter, and some people have their like opinions on them, obviously, but no matter what, it's always going to be something that people are going to have. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with having New Year's resolutions. I think we all should, whether it's from a financial standpoint or a health standpoint, whatever it is. And I love doing that stuff. And I think it's good to encourage people to instill those habits, right? So I think just having discipline in general is good for your body, good for your mind, good for your soul.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to talk about all that stuff, because yeah, it doesn't matter whether you, you know, think like it's dumb to begin in January. I personally, I love new beginnings. I love fresh starts. And to me, it's just like, it's very like, I love a clean slate. Like, I just love a clean slate. Like it's so open to anything, and I get to do whatever I want. And I just think that, like, I don't know, that just makes me feel really, really good.
I love it. It's like a new chapter. It's a new chapter of your life, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm pumped about the new year. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see what 2023 holds.
Yeah, I know, because we're so far from 2020 now, we can't hold that as an excuse anymore.
That's out. I'm not worried about that. Out of sight, out of mind.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, Brooke, we're so excited to follow you on this, you know, improvement season and this off season. and all the new things that are coming up. But just again, congratulations on working so hard, like you said, to make improvements just to hold that spot. It just tells you how this sport is evolving by leaps and bounds. And yeah, we just pray for continued health for you and to be able to
Sure.
keep things going. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for doing this with me, and thanks for everyone to everyone else for listening and watching to another episode of The Women's Fittest. You can follow us on Instagram at The Women's Fittest, and you can find Brooke on Instagram at Walker Brooke, and me on Instagram at Buffcake22. This one will also be on my YouTube at Buffcake22. And remember that healthy looks different on everybody. Have a great day.